I represent, as Bob said, it's stuff that you already know. So it's just giving back the information we got from the survey, and we can talk after the presentation to see if there's anything you want to add. So first of all, we surveyed 24 farmers across the northern range, from Aripo, from Lopino, Morne-la-Croix, from Braço Seco. And Christophene has been growing at least for 60 years. It ranges from people that are growing for just 4 months and they're just starting to harvest, to people that are into the Christophene for over 60 years. The average number of years that people are growing, the farmers are growing, is 18 years. It is obviously a socially and economically important crop for these farmers. As they are growing for so many years successfully, the income, they have families, so it is successful, it is adapted to the place. And although a couple of farmers gave up on Christophene because of the disease, because it is affecting everywhere in the country, there are farmers interested in getting into the crop because it's an economically viable crop and gives money weekly to the farmers. So it's a constant source of income, and there are more farmers wanting to get into the crop and expand their fields. Well, the average size of the farmers are around 3 acres, ranging from people growing 1/4 of an acre to people growing 8 acres of Christophene. We can observe there was bigger farms in Braço Seco, in Lopino they are smaller, in Aripo they are even bigger. So there's this region differences in the northern range. But worldwide, even on great producers like Costa Rica and Mexico, the average size of the farm are usually small, because it's a really labor-intensive crop. Well, into the agronomic practices, there are many varieties of Christophene growing in the country, but none of them have any specific names. They are just, the differences are in size, shape, or smoothness, the texture, but there's no specific name or whatever. All of the farmers, 100% of them, use their own seeds, except, of course, the ones that are starting the field, so they get from other farmers. But they just replant what they have. Generally, there is no specific time for planting or replanting. So the farmers reported that they just go replanting weekly or monthly, but no specific time. For example, in Veracruz, Mexico, which is the biggest producing area in the country, they always plant or replant in December to get bigger, to get in the most important part of the rainy season, because when you plant or replant, the plant needs a lot of water. About use of fertilizers, 91% of farmers use inorganic fertilizers, applying it 4 to 5 times a year in routine intervals for like each 2 months or 3 months. One application of fertilizer takes an average of 3.5 man-hours to apply a bag of fertilizer. And the most used ones are 12-12, 17+2, urea, 13-13, 21, and chicken manure. About the use of pesticides, half of the farmers are currently using pesticides. But we also noted that there are farmers that are adverse of using chemicals. There are farmers that used to apply but didn't saw many results for many different reasons, and ones that are still applying. The average application time of one product is around 1.3 man-hours per acre. And the most used ones are Gramoxone, Paraquat, Regent, Fastac, and Carbendazim. About irrigation, irrigation is really special because it's a crop that needs a lot of water, especially in places like Trinidad that has a window of a dry season, hot days. But I say only because it's something that every farmer should have. It's 79% of the farmers irrigate their fields. The source of the water is 79% running water, guiding through pipes through the field, and 21% use stored water. The main method that farmers are using across the country is sprinklers. 55% of them are using sprinklers. And especially when it comes to bud hole, sprinklers are not usually the most recommended method because it also helps spread the disease. Irrigation takes place an average of 4.4 times a week during the dry season, but it ranges from farmers applying only 2 2 days a week, and farmers applying every day. The average labor involved with the irrigation to set up the irrigation and irrigate the field, it's about 2 man-hours. Well, about the harvest and post-harvest practice in the country, 43% use fruit pickers and the rest use it just by hand. 82% handle fruits in plastic bags just after harvesting and 17% in feed bags. It takes an average of 25 minutes to harvest 100 pounds. 91% of the farmers sort and select the best fruits to sell. This sorting and selecting and packaging of 100 pounds takes usually 20 minutes. This is an important point. There's no special storage like a cold storage or a transport. Anyway, there's nothing specific to transport or store the fruit. So it also helps spreading diseases, and it makes the life of the shelter life smaller. Well, about the yield. The average yield reported during the high productive season that farmers reported that goes from January to May is around 1,330 pounds per acre a week. On the low season, the low production season, which goes from June to December, the average is only 243 pounds per acre per week. It represents a drop of over 80%. It's something that really should be looking into to see what's causing that drop. Considering 5 months of high yields and 7 months of low yields, the average farm production would in the other range would be around 33,000 pounds per acre in 1 year. Bob will go more into the yield on his presentation to compare what they have in Costa Rica, Mexico, Brazil, comparing to Trinidad, and the potential that we have to grow the yield. But while the average is 32,000, there are farmers getting 10,000, farmers getting almost 80,000 pounds a year. Well, about the marketing, 3/4 of the farmer go to the wholesale market by themselves and negotiate the price directly with the buyers. 21% sell only at farm gate and 4% do both. 23% of them sell to a middleman, so it shows the importance of a middleman for many farmers that lives too far or whatever. The average price reported for wholesale is ranges from $2 per pound on the high productive season to over $10 per pound on the low productive season. Well, about the pests and diseases, the bullet hole, that how farmers call the disease, which was diagnosed as gummy stem blight, is present in all of the fields that we visited. On average, the farmers reported that on the rain season, over 66% of their fields showed symptoms of the infection, while on the dry season it's only 14%, which makes sense because the disease is favored by high humidity and rainfall. Also, on average, farmers reported that the loss in yield on the rainy season is around 37%, but it ranges from people losing 10% of the yield and people losing up to 75%. And in the dry season, the losses are smaller, around 4.7%, also ranging from 1 to 10% loss. Other mentioned pests or diseases by the farmers were mostly birds, nematodes, mice, rats, or agouti. But it's also, the report we got was the loss in yields because of these are below 5%. But probably we believe that especially the nematode effect on the yield is highly underestimated. Well, about the socioeconomic considerations to see how important is the crop to the farmers. The average percentage income from any agricultural activity is around 67%. And from that 67% from agriculture, the average just from Christophene is 71. So it is the major crop for these farmers. And you can see over 50% of the farmers depend on agriculture as their main source of income. It represents almost 100% of their income. And 75% of the farmers have Christophene as their major crop, which represents over half of their income from agriculture. This is just data to show how big the crop is, how important it is to farmers. The average household size is 3.37. 83% of the farmers work full-time at their field without helping from anyone. So it's a really high labor-intensive crop, and since they work by themselves, so it's really a tiring activity. 17% have another male member of the family helping, 12.5% full-time, and 12.5% have part-time help from other family members. Around 20% hire non-family member labor, so it's not easy to come by outside labor. Almost half of the farmers have another form of employment or another skill that they can use and diversify their income. 66% of the farmers grow other crops, and the most mentioned ones were banana, plantain, and cocoa. Now, some important observations from the survey. As I mentioned, the average yield drops 81.3% from the high productive season to the low productive season. It's a labor-intensive crop, so the predominant workforce are males. The recently planted fields obtain much higher yields, as Roger authorized us to mention his name. For example, on his field he's having a production over 70% bigger than the average, because it's a newly planted field, so it's showing some signs of being more resistant and more productive. That's what a recommendation that we've done, that replanting should take place. And as I said also before, irrigation is a must in countries, especially like Trinidad. There is observation of seasonality in other places, but with proper irrigation you can mitigate some of these losses. Well, as the main point of the internship and the program is the adopting an integrated pest management strategy, it is possible. It's not only involving using bioagents or chemicals or whatever, it involves all of the activities taking place. So by improving agronomic practices, providing access to latest technologies and knowledge, and especially adapting all of these from the literature we'll be getting, the experience from people in Costa Rica, Mexico, and Brazil, adapting these to the reality of these farms. I really recommend someone doing something on a steep slope that people are doing on a plain terrain, for example. And there's also, from the literature, there are many different biological agents to control the fungus, to control bullet hole. These are some that I got from different reports. Trichoderma, Gliocadium, Catelunatum, and Bacillus subtilis. There are different strains of these biological control agents that are being tested successfully in other places. That shows the potential of research and bringing these and adapting these ones to the reality in Trinidad. So, thank you for your time.